Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Or would you have changed a few things, tinkered things around? Either way, pause, breathe, and let's spend this morning together. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Dew today on Dott TV. From newspaper headlines to insightful analysis to topical conversations and tidbits from the softer side of things, we've got you covered. Let's look at the stories shaping our lives. I am Ife Arono, and the ladies are here. Good to see you, Priska.
Yeah, good morning, Ife. How you doing?
Very well. I missed you.
Yes, yeah. Welcome back.
Happy
it
to
looks
be
like
back.
it's Ladies' Day out today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be having a beautiful time in the studio. So Henry's not around today, but of course, we promise you it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be beautiful. And like Ife said, sometimes it's set out, you have your resolutions, you have your plans for the week, but then maybe one or two things you need to tinker around to make sure that the week turns out splendid at the end of it all. My name is Priska Abamba, and I have Lady in Blue with me right here. Success, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great this morning. Your
It's nice to
hairstyle is
have you.
gorgeous.
It is?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yes. It is a wonderful Wednesday this morning, and yes, half into the week and a time to refresh, relax. Welcome to Morning Dew on Dot Television, where we bring you top stories and news headlines making waves across the globe. I am Success Benjamin. Today is actually Ladies Wednesday, so it is Ladies Day out.
Women Crush Wednesday. And just to think of it, I don't know if the campaigns, are you feeling the campaign breeze already around you, maybe in your neighborhood?
Scanty.
So what's going on?
Scanty.
Well, presently in my neighborhood, nothing yet. But of course, I'm seeing the headlines. I'm seeing the news. Something went down 2 days ago at the NBA conference in Port Harcourt.
It was fire.
With Rotimi Amechi, the vice presidential candidate. Yes, Showore.
Showore was
and of
on
course,
fire.
Peter Obi, and they had this back and forth.
The debate.
Basically, on the petrol subsidy that Atiku Abubakar is saying that if he were to be elected as president, he was going to remove the petrol subsidy. And a lot of people, especially key politicians, are having issues with it. Like, okay, so it's like you're about to take Nigeria a step back, 2 steps back, and we're
You
going
mean
a
remove
step forward.
or bring it back?
Bring it back, yes.
because
It was
that's what
removed, so he
said.
wants to bring it
Yes,
back.
to bring it back. And people because perhaps Nigerians understand something about the need to remove subsidy, despite the fact that we're going through economic hardship. Or was it about the elite who were there at the at the conference? Was it really about the quality of people? Because if you ask the average Nigerian, they would likely like subsidy to be restored.
Yeah, of course, we've had a number of analysts in-house that talked about it, gave their opinion, and from what they said, if I were to quote them, they said it is basically because this subsidy that was removed, it is not being used to the benefit of Nigerians. So it's like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
To pay Tinubu. No, you're robbing Peter.
I didn't say that.
No,
I said Peter to pay
say
Paul.
that. That's not the view of Morning Dew on Dot TV. Well, of course, the conversation will pick up as we continue. Of course, news update is next, and then Success has all the stories. Stay with us.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Welcome to News Updates on Morning Dew. We begin with Delta State. The Delta State Governor, right? The Delta State Governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori, has commissioned a newly completed cottage hospital in Opanam, Oshimili North local government area and flagged off a 6-day free medical care program. It happened yesterday as well. The whole thing freezed.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Welcome to News Update on Morning Dew. We begin with Delta State. The Delta State Governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori, has commissioned a newly completed cottage hospital in Opanam, Oshimili North local government area, and flagged off a 6-day free medical care program for residents. The governor, represented by his deputy, Samonde Oyeme, said the facility would improve access to quality and affordable health care, particularly for women, children, and the elderly. Oboriwori commended the Oshimili North Local Government Council for executing the project, describing it as an important link between government and the grassroots. The council chairman, Innocent Ezewezie, said the free medical program would provide consultations, treatment, dental and optical services, as well as surgical procedures. He also announced the immediate enrollment of 200 people into the Delta State Contributory Health Commission, including 150 security watch operatives and 50 children with special needs. The program is aimed at making healthcare more accessible and inclusive for residents of Oshimili North. The KMO for Tinubu Oboriwori Keto Support Group has commenced a word-to-word sensitization tour across Uya local government area as part of the 2027 political campaigns. Led by its Director General Honorable Eagle Sharp, the group began the exercise in Ward 2, Orumaro, where party supporters, community leaders, youth, and women welcomed the delegation. Sharp commended Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo for his contributions to Nigeria's aviation sector and praised Governor Sheriff Oboriwori for what he described as people-oriented governance in Delta State. The UWIA coordinator, Honorable Tega Unuagwa, said the exercise was aimed at taking the message of continuity and progress to voters at the grassroots. The community leader, Chief Friday Abino, expressed support for the Tinubu Oboriwori agenda and assured the group of the word's support. The sensitization tour is expected to continue across other wards in Uye local government area. The Delta State Governor Sheriff Oboriwori has extended warm greetings to Muslims in the state and across Nigeria on the occasion of Eid el-Maulud. In a goodwill message issued by Chief Press Secretary Sir Festus Ahon, the governor urged Muslims to reflect on the life and teachings of Prophet Muhammad, particularly his virtues of compassion, humility, tolerance, and peaceful coexistence. Oboriwori called for renewed commitment to unity, mutual respect, and peaceful living, regardless of religious, ethnic, or political differences. He also assured residents of his administration's commitment to building an inclusive and peaceful Delta state. The governor wished the Muslim faithful a joyful and spiritually enriching Eid el-Maulud celebration. Now in Lagos State, retirees under the Nigeria Union of Pensioners in Lagos State have given Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu until August 31st, 2026 to settle outstanding pension adjustments, allowances, wage awards, and other entitlements. The pensioners issued the ultimatum during a warning protest in Lagos, expressing frustration over what they described as years of unpaid arrears. The union warned that failure to receive payment by the deadline could lead to a larger protest at the Lagos State Government Secretariat in Alausa and the State House of Assembly. The retirees said their demands include outstanding consequential pension adjustments dating back several years. They also appealed to the state government to urgently address the arrears and improve their welfare. And finally, on the foreign news, Canada has announced retaliatory tariffs on about $20 million worth of U.S. imports following new tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump. The Canadian government said the new duties, ranging from 15 to 50%, will affect about 700 products and take effect on September 8th. The measures will cover goods including prepared foods, perfumes, plastics, lumber, paper products, carpets, and clothing. Canada's Finance Minister Francois Philippe Champagne said the tariffs, alongside a multi-billion-dollar support package, are aimed at protecting Canadian workers, farmers, families, and businesses. The move comes after trade talks between the two countries broke down, further straining relations between the long-term allies. That's it for news updates on Morning Dew. Plenty more to come when we return. Stay with us.
Wake up with us every morning.
We bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration.
Good morning and welcome to Today in History on Dott TV, where we throw back to notable developments and personalities connected to this day in previous years. August 26th has witnessed significant events and personalities that shaped Nigeria, Africa, and the wider world. One major event happened in 1944 when the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons (NCNC) was established, led initially by Herbert Macaulay and later by Nnamdi Azikiwe. The organization played an important role in Nigeria's struggle for self-government and independence. Also on this day in 1993, military head of state General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida steps down after the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. He handed power to an interim national government headed by Chief Ernest Chonokong. Also born on this day in 1938 was Dr. Riwanu Lukman, a former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, who later served as Secretary General of OPEC from 1995 to 2000. On August 26, 2011, a suicide bomber attacked the United Nations building in Abuja, killing 21 people and injuring more than 70 others. Boko Haram later claimed responsibility for the attack. August 26th is also observed as Hausa Day, celebrating the Hausa language, culture, and heritage. Beyond Nigeria, on this day in 1920, the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution took effect, granting American women the constitutional right to vote. Interestingly, August 26 brings together Nigeria's struggle for independence and democracy, the fight against terrorism, African liberation movement, and landmark development in global political and technological history. Those are some of the moments and personalities that made August 26th significant in Nigerian, African, and world history. I am Peace Nwokburu. Thanks for watching.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Morning Dew on Dott TV, and we're moving straight to newspaper headlines. We have some front covers, and we're going to take a look at what the papers are saying, starting with New Telegraph. And these are the topical stories on New Telegraph today. Just above the masthead, we have US hails Dangote refinery on PMS surge. And right above that, Nigeria's bilateral debt hit $6.59 billion as China accounts for 83%. The major headline on New Telegraph today, Tinubu orders rescue of Niger mass abduction victims. And we have this rider says perpetrators won't go scot-free. Police confirm 1 killed, 3 injured as man opens fire on wedding ceremony. Interpol arrests 58 Black Axe members. West African Crime Network suspect identifies 263 suspects across 22 countries. U.S. deepens security cooperation with Nigeria trains troops in Bauchi. Right above that, Tinubu can't force us to cede Benue land to pastoralists, coming from Alier, calls for community action against insecurity and illegal mining. Benin-Asaba Expressway still in the news. Concessionaire lacks technical know-how for projects, and that's coming from Works Minister Umahi. Grant Nnamdi Kanu presidential amnesty, Oluwa begs federal government. And sadly, legendary U.S. country singer Dolly Parton dies at the age of 80. Ido Mulud, don't divide Nigerians along religious ethnic lines, Khan warns politicians. And 2027 APC has enough achievements to campaign, coming from Ababio. As party reopens electronic membership registration ahead of polls, don't use surrogates to campaign. Obi tells Tinubu, fuel subsidy. I won't return import subsidy regime, coming from Atiku. Has made a backtrack, and on health, coffee may help cut belly fat, boost muscle. And that's according to a study. We'll move on now to the next.
Away from the New Telegraph this morning, we move to the Daily Independent, where we have that bold headline, Tinubu orders the rescue of Niger mass abduction victims, where the writers urges prayer against insecurity, other national afflictions, and directs urgent repairs of Benin-Agbo-Asaba Road amid gridlock. Of course, above the masthead, we have that headline, Dangote refinery drives 7-fold surge in Nigeria's petroleum export. Taking more headlines, we have fuel intervention aims to lower cost, not restore import subsidy regime, Atiku clarifies. Another headline that is running across so many headlines this morning, Governor Alia vows to resist land ceding to pastoralists and ranching. Amnesty 2027, Amnesty condemns Kuje chairman's threat against non-APC residents. And from entertainment, as it's taken earlier, Dolly Parton, country music icon, dies at the age of 80. That's the most much we can take from the Daily Independent.
Now moving away from the Daily Independent over to the Daily Trust, we have here 2027 knocks as FCT Council Chair threatens residents to vote APC. Article doubles down on restoring fuel subsidy. Residents demand justice as Mary Abila was buried. Now the topical story here, Rada Masari Rift splits Kasina APC. Other stories making the headline, man kills wedding guest over noise pollution in Kano. Diphtheria killed 50 children in Kano. Zenith Bank rallies stakeholders to boost $6.1 billion non-oil exports. 1 week after Wike's order, many buildings remain in green areas. And that's all for Daily Trust.
Let's now go to Nigerian Tribune and see what's above the banner head of the paper today. Ibadan Ijebu-Ode Railed reconstruction flag off is still in the news. APC slams federal government for not inviting Makinde, claims Tinubu scared of your governor's popularity and performance. We also have 43 feared killed, several abducted as terrorists lay siege to 5 Niger communities. And the writer there, Tinubu condemns killing and mass abduction. We're on Nigerian Tribune now, please. Nigerian Tribune. And the writer there for that story on the killing of 43 people. Tinubu condemns killing, mass abduction, others immediate rescue, and says terror won't cow Nigeria. 2027 election is topical on Nigerian Tribune. Atiku to boycott debate unless Tinubu joins ADC. Challenges presidency to debate on petrol subsidy removal. Nigeria ranks 56th amongst world's poorest countries by GDP. And that's coming from Global Finance magazine. U.S. hails Dangote refinery as Nigeria's petroleum exports surge 7 times. Nigeria's petrol consumption declined by 25% to 35.7 mpd in July 2026. And that's coming from NMDPRA. On health, dirty air may trigger rheumatoid arthritis flare-offs, coming from a study. Federal government begins repairs as minister visits Oyekiti Ulukweji Kaba Road. Benin Asaba Expressway motorist resort to forest roots. Omahi blames concessionaire. To be defeated, drug barons must lose their reward, Marwa declares at Cambridge. These are the topical stories on Nigerian Tribune.
So moving away from Nigerian Tribune, we move to the Daily Times, where we have a bold headline: 10,217 killed in 2 years. Amnesty slams Tinubu government over worsening insecurity. And it's going with the rider. Rights group says Benue, Plateau top list, hundreds of villages sacked. And above the mast headline, we have the NNPCL raises petrol price to 1,270 naira despite crude drop. And of course, FG links NIMSI, CAC, NIPOST to build national digital address system. And finally, from the Daily Times, we have Tinubu orders immediate swift rescue of Niger mosque abduction victims. That's how much we can take from the Daily Times.
Let's take a look at the Guardian. We have here the FG hastens police reform to those self-help plots in communities. And here we have South Africa, 65 Nigerians to return today by private sponsorship. Manufacturers count cost, begin adjustment to sachet alcohol ban. Osibanjo Falani advocates citizen-centered pro-democracy reform in judiciary. Anxiety over attacks on Osun State Local Council motor parks as parties trade blame. Benin Asaba gridlock, Omahi accuses contractor of incompetency. And here we also have other stories. Tinubu, Jonathan, Diri, Dixon, Abba unite on merit integrity in public service. NDLEA harps on assets for forfeiture to discourage crime. Obi Atiku challenged Tinubu on prosing campaigns, presidential debates. And that's all we could take for the Guardian.
What's the state of the nation on the Nation newspaper this morning? Let's find out. The topical story: confusion rocks Atiku's field subsidy return campaign with the rider. Ex-vice president changes position 3 times in 1 week. Media aides make contradictory statements. And above the masthead, Ebweri Papa petitions Tinubu on Niger Delta region PAP, that's PAP. To win a drug war, barons must lose their wealth, says Marwa. Palliative work begins in Ado Kaba, Benin Asaba Road. IG, Nigeria's security crisis, now an interconnected network. That's worrisome. NFIU, public funds, farms, firms used for money laundering. Tinubu urges prayers against insecurity as Muslims mark Eid al-Mulud. Khan urges peaceful coexistence. And we also have this one on the nation, rescue abduction victims in Niger. President orders security agencies. That's very much trending across national dailies today. We'll move on now.
Moving on, we go to the Punch newspaper, and above the masthead, we have Tinubu orders construction of Benin bypass and others. Governors spend 512 billion naira on travels and officers. And of course, the bold headline, 19 oil block licenses to expire this year. And coming from the US on the headline in the papers this morning, we have Trump moves to revoke nearly 200,000 asylum seekers' visas. And we have more headline coming in. States IGR soars 34% despite economic hardship. Police bust Ogun baby factory, rescue pregnant women and children. And finally, drug lords' assets must be seized, coming from the director of the NDLEA. And one more, Eid al-Mulud, Tinubu governors can preach peace and tolerance. That's so much we can take from the Punch newspaper.
Now let's take a look at this day. What we have here above the masthead, Dolly Parton, Queen of Country Music, dies at 80. Late superstar wrote 3,000 songs, recorded 450. Trump, Clinton, Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, and others pay tribute. President ordered flag flown at half-mast for 1 week. Moving down here, we have Tinubu, terror won't cow Nigeria. We will defend our people and protect our society. From the United States, a EIA Dangote refinery driving 7-fold surge in Nigeria's petroleum exports. And that's all we can take for this day.
And from this day, we'll move on to Vanguard newspaper today. The topical story on Vanguard, highways of horror. Motorists will spend 4 days on Benin-Asaba Road. Recount ordeal. Federal government to review concession roads, apologizes to Nigerians. And we see the photo of the road in question, Benin-Abo-Asaba Road Gridlock. We can see that it's a Ogori site there. Above the masthead, crude import by domestic refineries jump 151.5% in July, coming from NMDPRA. Below that, 2027 Y coalition failed to pick single presidential candidate, coming from Amici. And of course, we have still on 2027 presidency, ACF, PANDEF, MBF demands scrutiny of candidate history. Background checks raise moral issues, but law remains supreme, coming from Afeni Fere. Eid al-Mulud, Tinubu governors can, PDP, others preach peace. And of course, we have US plans revocation of 200,000 visas of asylum seekers. Nigeria fights to save 1.4 trillion agro exports. And of course, we see the rider there. We are 80% ready. Exporters, that's coming from exporters, and federal government struggle with its role. That's on Vanguard this morning.
All right, that's too much we can take this morning from the dailies. Ify.
Yes, we still have our own Empire newspaper. Just 1 or 2 there. 6 arrested as Ogun police rescue pregnant woman, children from alleged baby factory. Newborn of another victim still missing as case is transferred to SCIID for full investigation. And then we have above that, above the masthead, Nigerian Law School withdraws Best Graduate Prize over inappropriate photo. Now, these are the ones we're picking out from Empire newspaper. Right after this, we'll be back for the full analysis of some of the stories. What are we picking out? Find out after the short time out.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Good morning and welcome to Today in History on Dott TV, where we throw back to notable developments and personalities connected to this day in previous years. August 26th has witnessed significant events and personalities that shaped Nigeria, Africa, and the wider world. One major event happened in 1944 when the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons (NCNC) was established, led initially by Herbert Macaulay and later by Nnamdi Azikiwe. The organization played an important role in Nigeria's struggle for self-government and independence. Also on this day in 1993, military head of state General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida steps down after the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. He handed power to an interim national government headed by Chief Ernest Chonokong. Also born on this day in 1938 was Dr. Riwanu Lukman, a former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, who later served as Secretary General of OPEC from 1995 to 2000. On August 20, Abuja, killing 21 people and injuring more than 70 others, Boko Haram later claimed responsibility for the attack. August 26th is also observed as Hausa Day, celebrating the Hausa language, culture, and heritage. Beyond Nigeria, on this day in 1920, the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution took effect, granting American women the constitutional right to vote. Interestingly, August 26 brings together Nigeria's struggle for independence and democracy, the fight against terrorism, African liberation movement, and landmark development in global political and technological history. Those are some of the moments and personalities that made August 26th significant in Nigerian, African, and world history. I am Peace Nwokburu. Thanks for watching.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
And this is that time where we get to talk about the major issues out of the headlines this morning. And we're joined by Mr. Godfrey Obaka, newspaper analyst for today. Welcome.
Thank you so very much. Coming in here, the ambience I met reminded me of Olarotimi's walk, one of his walks. Our husband has gone mad again. And I asked what happened to the man of the house.
Let's say that down,
Yeah.
Mr. Obaka.
We decided to have you today. So you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank
You're welcome,
you.
Mr. Obaka. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming on the
Good
program.
morning.
Of course, you paid attention to the headlines earlier. And now, last week that we heard from the presidency that any form of abroad trip by political appointees must now be approved through the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. And we're now seeing that our governors have spent 512 billion naira on travels and offices. I mean, what does that say about our fiscal management?
Well, kudos to the newspapers, especially Punch. I must say that even on this platform, they did an analysis. It's not as if there was a press conference somewhere where this information was divulged.
released, yeah.
They just did an analysis, on what has come to the state, how has it been spent, and put it in perspective. And what do we get from there? Our system of democracy is wasteful, very, very wasteful. And it doesn't reflect the fact that we are going through a reform. If we are going through a reform, there are areas you concentrate, you build for the future, and you also ensure that you block the leakages. We are still having leakages. We have a bogus government, a governance structure. It's surprising that and disturbing that 14 years after the Oronsaye report, Oronsaye came out with a report of how we could streamline our structures of government. And some of the offices, ministries, and parastatals that duplicate efforts and lead to wastage
And even fake ones too.
should be streamlined so that we save cost and direct this money into infrastructure for the future. But unfortunately, what are we having? It's not just that we are creating more. There are even fake ones that we are told created themselves. And so you just find out that if a British Prime Minister can go to work with 1-2 backup vehicles, and you see that a commissioner in a state cannot go to inspect projects if he's not traveling in a convoy, And interestingly, I went through that report. And somewhere in the third paragraph thereabout, it's saying that a governor's salary is just slightly above 500,000 naira. And when I was looking at that report, I said, "Oh, this validates what the governor of Delta State said a few days ago." Then Punch now just opposed that. That what it now means is that within a period of about a year, thereabout, or not a year, but there's a particular span of period that the governor's salary is about 3 million thereabout. But that within this period under review, see how much has been spent on travel. Then the question is, if you're serving the people and you are traveling, what is the result of that traveling? Nigerian press had to bring up the fact, the frequency of the president's journeys,
Yes,
foreign trips, you know, and now APC is almost using it as a campaign strategy that, look, not just that he has cut down on his foreign trips, that even Mr. President eats once a day. And he also treks, to office. So he's not even using vehicle. And you want to sell that to Nigerians and they will believe that we now have a president who is trekking to save cost. Is that how you can save cost? The agencies that are duplicated and have needless functions that they are expected to accomplish. Why don't you why don't you see how you can
to streamline things? And talking about streamlining things, we are facing the polls in just a few months, in January, February. And Nigerians are going to make choices. Some of these governors want to return. It is good that the media is keeping us informed about some of these issues and doing some analysis.
True.
So should this be on the table, some of the things that will determine who gets voted into power in 2027, if Nigerians are sincere about wanting better lives and for reforms to begin to work?
Nigerians want better life. It's just that Nigerians also doubt if the political space presents a level playing ground. In one of the papers this morning, INEC is saying that there are about 873 a few fraction billion that it budgeted for 2027 election, that it has not been fully funded. You understand? No, you an independent electoral umpire. If by now 5 months to the election, you have not fully funded it, what are you saying? I still have a level of control over you. And so when you come for the balance, for the full funding, we now tell you the terms of who to return and all that. Nigerians want better life. Nigerians want to come out and vote. But there is a disconnect. They believe that their votes may not count. But the role of the media is to say, no, don't give up. If the people of Osun State had given up that their votes will not count, and we saw that the ruling political party mobilized and all those who had assignment there and those who didn't, all of them. So much so that former President Goodluck Jonathan had to cry out that what is happening doesn't look like an election. It's like a state measure, a state seizure.
State capture.
State capture. Thank you. What exactly does the Senate President, who is from Akwa Ibom, what business did they have in Osun State and all that? So Nigerians want to vote.
That's right.
But the media should be able to sensitize Nigerians enough that we are getting to that stage in our democratic experience where our votes will count.
That's right.
Yes, some people did say it was an off-season election, off-cycle election.
Off-cycle,
So all eyes on Osun.
Than when 27 states will now want to, the ones that are in the normal cycle election, that the resources available to INEC may not be able to give you that kind of close marking and all that, but let Nigerians not lose faith in the process and let us see how Nigeria can get better democratically.
I want us to juxtapose this issue that was raised earlier on the 512.1 billion naira spent in just 6 months, on travels, offices, renovation, and all of that. Now let's juxtapose it with what we see on our screens between the last how many days where we have total gridlock, where citizens are completely caught off, and some of them have to start, tracking some routes in the forest just to make ways through. And we saw a video of that yesterday.
I want to think you're talking about the Benin, Asaba, to Onisha, as it were.
And we have the Minister of Works.
Yeah, that's
Debumahi, blaming the concessionaire not doing his job.
Yeah, that's a critical highway connecting the southwest with the southeast. So critical. And of course, one of the failures of our democracy, it took Oshomole to point this out. You understand?
Yes.
Then, of course, the president has now ordered, as it were, the Ministry of Work to get in for some remedial
urgent
urgent
intervention.
intervention.
Yes.
But let's not forget that there had been some level of concessionary of that. So there's supposed to be a reconstruction work where it should be about 8-lane a thing.
Right.
But of course, the company has 30 months to fully deliver on it. You know, we do not have the details of how far he has gone, but truth be told, the rains have been heavy.
Very heavy.
And we do know that for any serious-minded construction agency, you want to start now, it's going to cost you more.
Okay.
Because where you would have attended to with 10 bags of cement, for instance, you will be attending to it with
You use
20
more.
because the rains and all that, you know, so it's more expensive now. So, but they have a way of telling you that we will get into sight as soon as the rain subsides. They will now enter what they call construction season.
That's
Okay.
right.
But sometimes too, this
When
construction
the
season, they keep postponing it over
Yes.
and over again.
That's
You know,
the
but
issue.
it's been tabled on the floor of the Senate, and again, it has a way of exposing the disconnect
Okay.
in the relationship between the state and the federal.
Yes.
Okay.
I was going through one of the roads, and I told a friend that I was traveling with that even the state cannot be absorbed of this, because yes, there are federal roads,
Of course.
but every federal road passes through a state.
Of course.
What stops a state government from doing remedial effort, you know, a remedial
Cushion the
reconstruction,
effect of-
you know, when they go for FAC, present, this is what I spent,
on the federal
so I can be
But
reimbursed.
some state governments have done that, and they keep saying that the federal government has not reimbursed them. So that discourages state governments from
The
intervening.
federal government also tell you that when states spend 1 billion to reconstruct a space, they will inflate it, pad it, and tell you that they spent 20 billion.
I think
Who
that's a
approves?
recurring-
So
Who
is so
approves?
held
Let's get to this. Who approves that remedial work? Because now we're seeing that the Ministry of Works is not quite supervising things. If a state is going to construct, even from the breakdown of payment, from the cost of the repairs, they should be carried along all the processes so that no inflation would happen. Don't you think?
Exactly. They will tell you that they have FEMA in place.
Okay.
You know, the federal agency that is in charge of road repairs.
Yeah.
But we know the spread and span of Nigeria. And we know that FEMA cannot be effective in Abia and at the same time effective in Borno State. That is why the states should synergize a lot more with the federal government.
Okay.
You know, it's a federal road. Yes, but even in Delta, a few kilometers away from the Niger Bridge, we found out at some point that a place they call Chedwoko Spot at some point became impassable. You know, the Delta State government had to intervene, get it sorted out. And at the end of the day, there should be a meeting point. There are structures of government because, yes, they are federal roads, but every federal road passes through a state. So
Okay.
they should have a better coordination, a better synergy towards delivering for the Nigerian people, because at the end of the day, I think the
It's all
Nigerian
about
people
the
are.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's all
now
about
now we
service.
see the Minister of Works, accusing contractors of, not doing better job, good job. This is not the first time these road issues have been, reoccurring and occurring. And the federal government has been called several times to look into this infrastructure for the roads, for our Nigeria roads. Now, every government that comes in says they did road projects. They always capitalize on road projects. So where are the roads that they have been doing, or the infrastructure that they have been doing?
Yeah,
And now,
thank you,
now
Sasa.
yes, that's not it. Now, the Minister of Works is accusing the construction companies. Who should we hold responsible right now?
If I fully understand you are making reference to substandard delivery
Exactly.
of jobs. That's what I read from your question. Substandard delivery of jobs. As a young man in Bendel State then, a company then called Solebode constructed a road across my community. That road is still there today.
That is what we're
and we
saying.
are talking of 40 to 50 years.
So can't we
on.
have our
But
Nigerian
we
roads
have
last like
roads
that?
constructed now. They cannot last beyond 2 rainy seasons. Why? Because from the process of award to process of scoping and execution, a whole lot of water passed through under the bridge. That's what we are saying. And we had a governor in Delta State whose other epithet was the roadmaster. But we also expect that journalists should be able to go out there and find out of the gamut of roads, the network of roads that earned him that roadmaster, how many of those roads are still in the state that they should be now. Yes, whether you are patronizing the local indigenous, they call them indigenous contractors, or whether they are the globally rated constructors, standard should not be compromised. Yes, we recognize that is why a particular governor, in one of the states, goes out to, on his own, inspect and find out and measure and find out whether it has the depth.
Yeah, so
the code should be of this level and all that. But beyond that, we should ensure transparency in the process of execution, because if tomorrow you are the governor of Anambra State and you give me a project, but by the time you are awarding it to me, those who are representing you, your aides have come to educate me, as it were, that look, this is how it
You
goes.
have to give up some certain
and at the end of the day, the paper carries 50 billion, but I find out that it's 25 billion that is getting to me, because 25 has returned to you. You understand? To the system, as it were, either to fund the political party or whatever. At the end of the day, I need to deliver on that project. You understand? I need to pay my workers at the end of. So you find out that the quality, as in the BOQ, cannot be the one on delivery.
That's right. We'll leave it here because we have to breathe a little. I need to give you some time to cool off. We'll be right back on this analysis session to just touch one or two other related issues. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
You're still watching A Morning Dew, and of course, we're still looking at the topical stories making the headlines across national dailies today. Mr. Godfrey Obaka is a bit relaxed now, so we can get back to the issues. Now, not to further compound your agitation, but we read in one of the headlines that Nigeria's bilateral debts hit $6.59 billion as China accounts for 83%. So the debt, we borrowed up to 83% of that from China. We of course know the issues around neo-colonialism and all of that. And we also know that another headline read that politicians laundered looted funds through cow business. These are the throw-ups of the NBA conference and the likes. And another report, Nigeria ranks 56th among world's poorest countries by GDP. Where does this leave us? Briefly.
Well, it reflects a nation that is bleeding on several fronts, and it's not good enough. For reform to achieve the end or targeted results, it should be sincere. You know, no responsible parent want to leave behind debt for the children. In fact, a wise parent should leave behind legacies and not debt. And the easiest debt to get into is the one related to China, but it's also the most intricate because they are tied to the conditionalities. They are tied to projects with which they can recover it from. There's an African country that owned China for the construction of an airport.
Okay.
After a particular period, and they were not forthcoming with the repayment and the servicing, they came and took over the airport. So that is one of the, you talked about neo-colonialism. That is one of the ways we can get recolonized again. You understand? So it's not about, they don't need to come in here with guns. They don't need to come in here armed. It's just through economic policy. Dango, we know that they know that we are not transparent, we are not accountable, we don't have fiscal discipline. So they can just dangle the carrot and tell you how they can, by the time they present it and you take, and what happens is that you have dug a pit for generations that are coming. And of course, when it comes to issues of global impact, issues of international politics, you will be neither here nor there. Of course, we know the outplay of the America and China and where they stand internationally.
That's right.
Yes, of course, America could be interested in our oil, but China is interested in giving you the loan and controlling your infrastructure, so that at the end of the day, they are in control of your future. And where they tell you to stand, you stand, because should you not stand, they know where to come and take over.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Godfrey Obaka. Of course, we Nigerians, we are shaping the narrative and shaping opinions. We're hoping that these issues will shape the kind of leaders we elect in 2027. That's the decider, isn't it?
Thank you so much, Mr. Obaka. Thank you for
Mr.
coming this
Obaka.
morning.
That's the heart of the matter.
That's right. And of course,
Thank you.
the conversation continues with something else that you'll absolutely enjoy right here on Morning Dew. Please do not go away.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Good morning and welcome to Today in History on Dott TV, where we throw back to notable developments and personalities connected to this day in previous years. August 26th has witnessed significant events and personalities that shaped Nigeria, Africa, and the wider world. One major event happened in 1944 when the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons (NCNC) was established, led initially by Herbert Macaulay and later by Nnamdi Azikiwe. The organization played an important role in Nigeria's struggle for self-government and independence. Also on this day in 1993, military head of state General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida stepped down after the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. He handed power to an interim national government headed by Chief Ernest Chonokong. Also born on this day in 1938 was Dr. Riwanu Lukman, a former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, who later served as Secretary General of OPEC from 1995 to 2000. On August 26, 2011, a suicide bomber attacked the United Nations building in Abuja, killing 21 people and injuring more than 70 others. Boko Haram later claimed responsibility for the attack. August 26th is also observed as Hausa Day, celebrating the Hausa language, culture, and heritage. Beyond Nigeria, on this day in 1920, the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution took effect, granting American women the constitutional right to vote. Interestingly, August 26 brings together Nigeria's struggle for independence and democracy, the fight against terrorism, African liberation movement, and landmark development in global political and technological history. Those are some of the moments and personalities that made August 26th significant in Nigerian, African, and world history. I am Peace Nwokburu. Thanks for watching.
What's a business morning or a Wednesday morning without business? This is Business Boss. Welcome. And of course, it's still morning dew. We have someone beautiful who will walk us through the topical conversations this morning on how we can create wealth. Good morning, Louisa.
Good morning.
Good
You
to
know,
see you,
Wild
Louisa.
Wednesday, please. Keep it at how we can make money.
Well, I have a lot of stories for you guys.
Stories about how to make wealth.
It may not be necessarily how to make wealth, but it will be something that would at first affect your wealth.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. We want to
Affect
hear
our
it.
way how? Positively or
We want
to
to hear
grow
It
it?
depends on how you perceive it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go on.
All right.
Okay, let's first of all start with what it now costs to just get around. The average bus fare within our cities is now about 1,400 naira. A year ago, it was just over 1,000. That's a rise of almost 39% according to the National Bureau of Statistics. And Okada fares have climbed even faster, up more than 52% in a single year. Now, think about what that means if you sell online. Every order you send out costs more to move than it did last year. So you have three choices: absorb it, pass it to the customer, or make fewer trips. For small businesses, that first option barely exists. On a low-level order, delivery alone can wipe out the profits. Which brings us to what some companies are now trying. A Nigerian technology firm, Chance Access, has launched a platform called Market Ride. The idea is simple. Group several orders going to the same area into one rider trip. Same rider, same fuel. More deliveries. And here's why this matters before your next order. Delivery cost doesn't just disappear. It lands in the final price you pay at checkout. Now to a story we've been following closely. The alcohol ban has entered a much harder phase. NAFDAC has ordered a nationwide recall. Manufacturers must pull every sachet and every plastic bottle under 200 millimeters out of the market. Not just off the production line, out of distributors, out of warehouses, off the shelves. Recovered stock will be counted and destroyed under NAFDAC supervision, and the manufacturers will pay the full cost of that destruction. Factories already sealed will stay closed. They only reopen once those production lines are dismantled or permanently reconfigured. Now, this didn't begin this year. Concerns were first raised back in 2018. The worry was cheap, high-strength alcohol in packaging small enough to hide and cheap enough for children to buy. So what does this mean commercially? Entire product lines coming off company books, distributors and small retailers holding stock they can no longer legally sell. And enforcement is moving down the chain, from factories to distributors and now towards retail. And finally, this morning, fuel, because this one touches everything we've just talked about. Nigeria is buying more petrol from abroad again. Figures from the midstream and downstream regulator show total petrol supply fell in July to about 45 million liters a day. But look closer at where it came from. Locally refined supply dropped 21% in a single month, and imported volumes went up. The Dangote refinery remained the country's only domestic supplier, running at about 71% of capacity, while the state-owned refinery stayed shut through the period. And what you pay still depends on where you live. A litre cost around 1,400 naira in Maiduguri last month. In Lagos, closer to 1,130. Now, here's why this matters. Every litre we import is paid for in dollars. That ties the pump price back to the exchange rate and to global markets, which is exactly what local refinery was meant to soften. One brighter note, domestic cooking gas supply rose more than 20% over the same month.
Interesting
That's a
thoughts.
beautiful one.
I love that part. Picking the second story on NAFDAC recalling the sachet I was going to ask you. I was waiting for you to be done to find out what exact reason did NAFDAC give for the recalling of these sachets of alcohol. But you mentioned it eventually in your story, saying it is cheap enough for children to afford,
yes.
and it's also small enough for them to conceal it,
yeah, to conceal
which
it.
if they evade the parents' supervision. So it's really interesting how the whole thing is going. I still walk down the street and I still see these sachets. Even as of yesterday, I still saw them. Do you think this is really going to work out? They're pulling off these things from the streets.
Talking of mopping them up.
Yes.
Do we have a system in Nigeria to mop up things like this from the market just so that the reforms get activated immediately?
Right now, from what the NAFDAC, what they're trying to do, they're trying to start from the manufacturers,
Okay,
the
to stop the
distributors,
manufacturer.
and that is a good key thing.
Yes,
Instead of
correct.
starting
That's
from
a
the
key thing.
buyers,
Yes.
you start from the people who make those sachets, who make those
The
bottles.
prices of those things, the ones that they already have in stock, will go up. That's the natural
would
thing.
they
Yes,
do
that's
it?
a natural thing.
Yes,
But
the
what
natural thing.
NAFDAC
Once
is
they
trying
stop
to
the
do is that
production.
if they see it in your shelves,
They
they will destroy it, and you, as the seller, you would pay.
But I
for the
think
destruction.
It
if they
becomes
should
contraband.
destroy it based on what it got from the stores and do not stop the production or manufacturing of that same quantity of sachet, these things keep recycling
Keep
back.
recycling.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to curb it from the manufacturers, the
manufacturers.
distributors, the people selling it
Yes.
from every angle. And if they actually achieve that, I don't think we'll keep on saying sachet
we
or
won't keep
small
saying that.
bottle
So
alcohols
we're
anymore.
hoping that, of course, somehow they disappear from the shelves eventually. The issue of fuel subsidy. You were talking about that we've been importing a lot, but the US is congratulating Dangote for increasing supply. So where is the gap? What are we missing?
Actually, first of all, locally, if you notice,
production.
local production wasn't as high as we expected it to become on while oil producing
Because it's running at
country.
71% capacity.
Yes.
And we have just only Dangote.
Only Dangote. So having only Dangote.
So no matter how hardworking
Yes,
they can be or how
it doesn't
effective,
bridge that gap.
it doesn't still.
It doesn't still.
So
So at the end of the day, you still end up importing fuel.
Okay.
And talking about your first question you asked at the end of the first story, you said talking about the cost of transportation, and now bringing it back to riders and supply people who are doing deliveries. You asked three things. At this point, as a supplier who is into logistics, do you absorb the costs to
Yes.
yourself and bear it, or do you distribute it back to the consumer, or do you reduce your number of trips? I love that question,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I think in Nigeria, what we have that is
business
rampant,
strategy.
they put it back to the,
Exactly.
they push it back to the consumer,
to the consumer.
which increases the cost of products
Yes.
and all of this.
I listened to someone in the business space, and she said that logistics in Nigeria is not your mate, because you're not dealing with just fuel. You're not dealing with the fact that the vehicle can, the wear and tear on
Yes.
vehicles. You're also talking about the state of our roads. So you find that even given the gridlock in some parts, Benin, Abo, and all of this, Benin, Asaba, the gridlock we are currently experiencing, you find that some people have their, products that they have sent from maybe Lagos
stock.
coming
Yes.
down stock.
Yeah,
So
we had a
possibly,
woman
if
yesterday,
someone,
Yes.
a
okay,
full trailer of catfish.
Whoa.
She was bringing it down, I think from Ogun State or somewhere. She was bringing it down to the east. I saw her crying yesterday. All of it were dead.
Yes.
Everything, all the catfish in the trailer, dead because they were stuck in that gridlock. I really pity for her because I'm wondering how she's going to recoup her loss at this stage.
And catfish is quite expensive right
Yes,
now.
it
And
is.
very
That's
fragile
That's a
also.
huge
Yes, very
challenge.
fragile.
So imagine such a person, all the progresses she'd made initially, it's more like a drawback.
A drawback,
Now
yes,
you
she
have
has ended up in a massive
And
loss.
sometimes these traders, they go as far as taking loans from cooperatives here and
Yes.
there just
And you
to
have
be
to
in
pay
business.
back.
And you
You
have to
just
pay
have
back.
Sometimes with interest.
So,
Yeah.
with
Interest.
interest.
And unfortunately,
Yes.
if you take a loan from a financial institution that they're very strict with their interest rates, it's going to
They
be a
don't care
deadlock
what
for
you're
you.
going through.
Yeah, well, these are the issues, and we do hope that somehow the government is able to compensate some of these people.
Yes.
Yes, we hope. Of
hope.
course, we don't know if that is possible in this country. But in some way, let us be human for once.
Yes.
All right,
We
thank
know
you so
because,
much.
sorry,
Louisa.
the minister
Yes.
of Works, right?
Dave Umahi.
Dave Umahi he said that he's visiting these routes,
Okay.
these routes
Himself. Okay.
So we
Yes.
hope that he gets there yesterday.
Yes.
He should be there yesterday, and he
take
sees.
account,
Yes, he
of
has
what's
to
going
see
on.
the condition of everything
Yes.
and the losses.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very important. I hope
Very
that it
important.
intervenes. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Louisa City,
It's so
for
lovely
bringing
for
us
coming
Business
here.
Balls this morning. What's up next? Of course, we'll take a deep dive into the world of sport with Anthony Uche up next. Stay with us.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
magnificent from Harrison. That is a massive world record. Martinelli goes, boys, out of his goal. Martinelli should be in here. This will be 3 for Arsenal.
Well, it's time to get a bit of sporting energy on the show this morning, and we're joined by our sports analyst here at Dott TV, Anthony Uche. It's good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Anthony.
ladies.
Good morning, Anthony. Nice to have you.
This,
So, what is trending?
mostly it's that is that time of the year where the Champions League qualification stages get to the final stage. We had the final round of the qualification, and yesterday we witnessed one of the greatest comebacks in the history of Champions League qualifiers. Honestly, if you ask me, because Austrian champions from the last season, last cleanse, played the second leg of their final qualification round against Celtic of Scotland. And going into the game, Celtic won the first leg at Celtic Park by 3-0. Went into the game yesterday, scored the first goal. So basically, on aggregate, they were up by 4-0. And then just before halftime, Last Cleanse pulled one back, making it 4-1 on aggregate, 1-1 on the night. And you will not believe me when I tell you that at the end of that game yesterday, it ended 5-4 in favor of Last Cleanse, who ultimately secured qualification to the group stages or to the league phase of the Champions League. And one of the greatest things about this yesterday, like I said, it is one of the greatest comebacks in terms of qualifying from that much of a deficit to qualify ahead. And missing out on the Champions League for clubs, for a lot of clubs in the world, but for clubs like Celtic and qualification, on the other hand, for clubs like Last Cleanse, financially it is a win for, because if only by taking part in the Champions League group stages or league phase, you get a minimum of £40 million. And that could be life-changing money. That is direction-changing money for a lot of those clubs who are not particularly in the Premier League or La Liga, that do not generate just as much revenue as the other teams in the world. So for Celtics, utterly disappointing for them. Their coach, Martin O'Neill, came out after the game in an interview to say, yes, it is my responsibility. And I take full blame. Yes, I take full blame for that. But let's be honest with ourselves. A lot of those players have themselves to look at in a very, very bad way. The captain, Conor McGregor, said, it's not about the coach, it's about us, the players. So we failed ourselves, we failed to live up to it. We didn't deserve anything really on the night, because they said, according to him, they were very, very passive on the night. So I think that is a bit more of a fairer reflection, because I think it's more on the players than the coach. Yes, the coach ultimately in football bears the brunt, but yesterday, 3-0 up on aggregate, 4-0 up on aggregate, and then you found a way to bottle it. I mean, it's utterly unacceptable. And then, of course, in the other qualification as well, history was made where, a club from Azerbaijan, Baku to be precise, qualified as well. Sabah, called a club called Sabah, who were only formed in 2017. So they're not even 10 years old yet. And they've made it all the way to the knockout or to the league phase of the UEFA Champions League as well. And they did it in just as much of a dramatic circumstance, because yesterday, Hapoel Beersheva, who were the opponents, an Israeli team, scored towards the end of the game to make it 2-1 on aggregate, and they looked well on their way to getting the ultimate prize. But Sabah somehow found it in them to equalize, and then went on to win the qualification tie on penalties, which means, like I said, a club formed less than 10 years ago eyed the Champions League for the first time in their history as well. Yeah, and then, of course, there are a few stories from the world of transfer. Yesterday, Manchester United finally got their man, Carlos Baleva, Cameroonian midfielder, who they've been cutting for well over a year now. Around this time last year, he was touted to be worth over £115 million by Brighton and Hove Albion. And a lot of people who know Brighton and who know their marketing strategy and their negotiation strategy, once they tell you this is the price for a player, they don't budge. They want to keep their players. And Manchester United, what did they do last summer? They left the negotiations, they left the table, and then barely a year after, the value of the player has dropped significantly, and they ultimately got the guy for £65 million with an option or add-ons of up to 70 to make it up to £17 million. So that is a fantastic bargain, if you ask me, when it comes to when you consider that this player less than a year ago really was at the top of his game and touted to be well over 150 million pounds. So it is a very, very good deal. And that is something that the new ownership in United, so when I say new ownership, United has been owned by the Glazers family for a very long time. So that has not changed, but a man called Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the wealthiest man in the United Kingdom, Sir Jim Ratcliffe bought a share or a percentage of Manchester United, which gave him the controlling stakes over the football affairs of the club. So since he got that, he got a lot of the people, who know what they are doing when it comes to transfer negotiation, Omar Berada and the likes of them into the door. And they are trying to get rid of this United tax. There's this thing that has been over the years called United tax, where a lot of players who probably will be going for 20 or 40 or highest 50 million pounds. Once it's United involved, you see a lot of the transfer fees they jack up, and United were always willing to pay because they looked desperate to get those players. But since this Sir Jim Ratcliffe bought his share at United, they've significantly and systematically tried to eradicate that thing that they call the United tax. So when they go for players and they see the prices are blown out of proportion, they simply withdraw. They do not negotiate any further. But what would have been in previous incarnations of United, they would have paid 150 million pounds for Baleba last season and just got a player who is way below what that valuation was. So I think this and other transfers as well that United have carried out so far, yes, they started off on a losing note to Hull City over the weekend, but there is this thing, like I said, they're trying to get rid of that United tag of people who are always willing to spend too much money for players. And then, of course, other news in the transfer market as well. Manchester City confirmed, and Tottenham confirmed as well, the signing of Savinho, who left Manchester City to join them. And this is one, when you're talking about the United tax, I think this brings a bit of a context to this, because then you have this player who joined Manchester City a couple of years ago, and he only has 2 Premier League goals to his name. No, he has the Premier League goal. Okay, 2 overall, but last season he scored only 1 and assisted only twice in the Premier League. And here you have Tottenham buying this player for over 80 million pounds. For a player he's an attacker. He's not a defender, he's not a winger. So he's an attacker, and he only has 2 assists and a Premier League goal last season. And here you have Tottenham buying him for over 80 million pounds, which is way, way above the valuation of the player. So on the other hand, you see United cutting down on spending too much on players unnecessarily. And then on the other side, Tottenham, they've also taken their spend on transfers this summer alone to over 300 million pounds. Because they included the likes of Sandro Tonali in the team, Matheus Fernandes, who they signed from relegated West Ham United for 86 million pounds as well. That is another. This is a player who's not even proven in the Premier League. He's had only 2 Premier League seasons, and you're going to splash over 86 million pounds on him. So this is another sign of desperation, really. And then they also signed Jan-Paul van Hecke from Brighton and Hove Albion, a defender who is into the last year of his contract at Brighton. They signed him for 52 million pounds. That's necessarily is not particularly good. In football terms, when a player has a year left on their contract, their valuation usually drops. Because if you do not sign him by January, with 6 months left, he can negotiate with any club and join on a free the next summer. So for Tottenham to go spend 52 million pounds on a player who they could simply just wait out a summer and then get him for free the next one, is particularly troubling. But
Tony, you know that there's something that beats my imagination when it comes to the issue of sports, and that is when it comes to transfer updates. Now, although they use the term transfer, but you bought this player at so amount, you bought this defender or this attacker at so amount. It kind of gives me this feel of slave trade, although I know it's not slave trade, but you understand. So sometimes I ask myself, are you sure you're not practically buying over this person's rights? So you own the person in totality. Does it give you that
period
vibe
of time?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people have also accused football of being legalized slave traders when it comes to that, or human traffickers, really. Some have even gone as far as calling it human trafficking. But the thing is, it's only the sporting side of the player. So
that
you
is
are
over.
Yes.
So
you
the
play
player still has every right over his.
Yes, and just like a lot of contracts. Let me just round this off quickly. Just like a lot of contracts, you can decide to also terminate your contract. You can also decide to not sign. You do these things.
But if you terminate, you have to refund, right?
No,
There's always there are always consequences financially and otherwise.
Just in case the player does not like when
exactly. If you have enough money to buy a contract off, or we've also seen situations where a club and a player agree mutually, this is not working. Let's terminate this thing and go our separate ways. Nobody exchanges money.
Okay, this is where we'll leave it. I had a question for you, but I think I'll carry it over to the next time you're here. Thank you so much, Anthony Uche, for bringing us all this interesting updates. We wish you a beautiful day.
Thank you. I wish you the same too.
All right, this is still Morning Dew on Dott TV. We'll be right back with a topical and insightful conversation. Catch us after the short break.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
You're still watching Morning Dew on Dott TV, and we have an important conversation coming up. For many workers across Nigeria and around the world, the whole idea of working is beyond earning salaries. People are worried about how to make savings, how to invest, access support, and build sustainable livelihoods. Now, where do cooperative societies come into the mix of all of this? Through cooperative societies, we know that workers are able to save, and as well, they can as well pull resources together to do meaningful things, even as groups. But today, we are in the contemporary world. This is the 21st century, and one wonders, are cooperative societies still relevant in our time? And what benefits can workers and business people draw from joining cooperatives? We're joined now by a man who knows these issues. He is Mr. Andy Enwema, who is a statistician by training, a professional accountant, the president of NBS Staff Multipurpose Society. That's the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics.
Yes,
Staff,
National Bureau of Statistics.
National Bureau of Statistics Staff Multipurpose Society, and a board member of Delta Cooperative Federation, DCF. Your portfolio is great, so that means you're just the right person to talk to us about this. Cooperative
I'm the
societies.
secretary of Oshimele Union.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're not
awesome.
done.
Okay.
Do we have more in the coffers?
Cooperative societies. Let's talk about cooperative societies, because we already know once we hear cooperative societies, we're thinking savings. But we're going beyond savings today. But let's start. Give us an idea of the modern day cooperative society. What does it look like these days?
Very, very fantastic compared to the ancient cooperative society. Cooperative society started from, I think, from 1844 by Rushdie pioneer, who actually realized that people coming together, helping each other, can actually make them grow. So if you have a farm and I have a farm, you cannot do your farm alone. You just come together.
Okay.
All of us will go to your farm this day, and after that, the next day you go to this other person's farm, and the thing just kept growing. So helping each other.
So collaboration.
Yes.
Cooperation.
That's how cooperative is all about. You help me to do this, or we coming together, what ordinarily I cannot do.
Okay.
By pulling our resources together, we're able to achieve that.
Okay, let's look at the aims and objectives of your cooperative society.
Yeah,
How does it work?
Well, the aim of the objective of my cooperative society, or cooperative society generally, has to do with teamwork, just as you said. That's we assist you to grow. Just as we assist you to grow, you equally assist cooperative to grow. Cooperative cannot run at a loss, despite the fact that they don't have profit is not their target. But while doing that, they should have something to sustain the growth of that cooperative society, to sustain the cooperative society. So whatever you need, you bring it up to cooperative society. Cooperative society will look at it and help you to actualize that dream. You just pay a little token for that.
Okay, so let's say I'm not a member of your cooperative society. Can I just come and bring this is what I want to do, and this is what I need, and you just assist me?
No, unfortunately, we can't do that because it's against the cooperative bylaw. Non-member cannot access from there because the members are in need of it.
Have to be a member first.
Yes, must be a member.
Now let's get back to something you said when you were talking about how cooperatives work. You said that cooperatives are not necessarily businesses, but they are entities that also need to survive and be sustainable. So what are some of the running costs? Because when we pull our resources together, we should take note that maybe a bit of it will go into the sustainability. So you let us know some of the costs that go into running cooperatives. And then you also talked about when people need to do something, the cooperative comes in. So what are the valid things I want to do? Is it if I want to get married, or if I want to, talk to us about some of the valid reasons why a cooperative would intervene for me?
All right, let me start from the issue of running costs of the cooperative society. Yes, cooperative society has some running costs. Now, the cooperative society operates through the bank. Definitely, there must be charges for every transaction you do. And that transaction cannot be borne by a cooperative. If you allow the transaction to be borne directly by a cooperative society, it will be eaten into the deposit of members, because every member is entitled to whatever he or she has contributed as is leaving the cooperative society. If I've contributed 100,000 naira, if I wish to withdraw from the cooperative society, you calculate my 100,000 and give to me. So the cost of running that cooperative society or bank transaction must be borne. So to get that must be for an interest we are going to take from you as a member. The cooperative society equally meet, the management committee meets on a regular basis. Their meeting cannot just be meeting and discussing on fashioning ways to grow the cooperative society without a little token of appreciation, sitting allowance as the case may be. Then stationaries are being used in cooperative society. Definitely those things need to be.
And they have offices.
Yes, they have offices. Some cooperative society have building and they employ staff.
Interesting.
So they pay some of those staff which they employ. So some of those things are probably part of the running cost. And some of that, if they hold meeting, definitely they entertain people too. Entertain their members. Those are part of running costs. And those things are gotten from the little interest which they collect from members, which is just approximately about 10% per annum.
Okay.
I mean that if you need a loan now of about 1 million naira, and you feel you're going to pay that 1 million naira in 1 year, an interest of 100,000 naira will be charged from you to pay that money for 1 year.
It's almost like banks, so 2-digit interest rates.
No, 10% per annum is just a 0.83% per month. So if you take a loan of 1 million naira and you are supposed to pay it in 1 year, 100,000 naira for 1 year, and you expect to pay back on a monthly basis about 83,000 naira on a monthly basis until you liquidate that loan. So cannot compare that with
to banks. Okay.
Okay,
Now talk to us about some of the valid expenditures. That's the second question that one might want to. Some of the things that are valid that the cooperative are. Is it everything I want to do that I'll come to the cooperative and borrow?
Yes. If you don't do that, you are not helping yourself, because you're joining cooperative. You must have a motive. You must just want to join cooperative society. You must have a target that if I join this cooperative society, these are my targets. I'll take myself for example. When I joined cooperative society, I contributed for some time. So I looked at, I've been saying it even in some of the studios or television station. I don't hide my feelings. I don't hide it. Before I joined cooperative society, I was one of those people who had no privilege of going to school, just a very poor background. So it was when I joined cooperative society, I have to rekindle my idea of going back to school. So from cooperative society, I was able to go back to school, did my first degree. I came out from there, and after that, I went for my professional study, which is the chartered accountant. It was from that place I did that. It was through cooperative society I was able to buy the car I'm using today. It was through cooperative society I was able to buy my land. Through cooperative society I was able to build my house. Even when I wanted to marry, there's no money as a civil servant. It's difficult for you to save money that you want to get married, begin to save money. It's not easy.
Yes, to have that
So
bulk
it was
money.
yes, it was through cooperative society I borrowed and I got married. Through cooperative society, I'm equally training my children.
Wonderful.
So you can do anything through cooperative society.
So
through cooperative society, I equally established business for my wife.
Now,
So I
beyond
can
the benefits,
also-
success.
Okay.
Beyond the benefits, what are the challenges? Because I know for everything that has its good side, there might be challenges. So what challenges have you been facing?
Yeah, very minimal challenges you're going to be getting from cooperative society, but those challenges equally have a remedy.
Okay.
Now, if venture cooperative society venture into any kind of business, which must have been agreed by the members, because definitely before you go into any kind of business, you must bring it up to the general house. A proposal must be ready, bring it up to general house. They will look at it, look at the visibility, look at the visibility study. If you know the returns, the return on investment on that, before they now okay it. And once they say, okay, you go ahead, through the committee, they start. But eventually the thing crumbles. It affects the cooperative, the investment is lost. Every member of the cooperative society must bear the brunt. That is that. But the high risk of it is especially for those who are non-governmental, because the cooperative society have both governmental and non-governmental society. So those non-governmental society are like those people who do not have a central place where deduction is being done. Like in government sector now, government can actually do deduction through salary for the members. So
now, the non-governmental members, are they also civil servants?
They are not. They are not. Basically, they are not civil servants. That is why they are non-governmental. So, like traders, artisans, farmers, all those
business people.
But that comes back to the question if you asked.
Yeah, that's what I
so
want to respond.
what if I'm not a member?
If
now
you're
you're
not a
mentioning
member, you can join a non-governmental
non-governmental
organization.
So we have cooperative society where People who are there.
But you did say that those ones can be risky because
Yeah,
it's
what
not...
the risk I'm trying to
yes.
exactly what I was trying to explain. The fact is that if eventually you loan money to such people and believing their business will definitely thrive, and eventually something happen, to pay back that money becomes a little difficult because
Have you
for
seen such
governments-
scenarios?
Yes, very well.
Please talk to us about some of them.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely meet it because every business has risk. You get that. So people borrow money, and somehow the business crumbled. People borrow money and somehow travel out of the country. People borrow money and something eventuality happen. Person dies.
Yes.
So the only remedy you have, because Section 64 of the Cooperative Bylaw provided that every borrowing must be backed up by guarantor. But then the burden now rests on the guarantor. You get that? So the guarantor eventually might forfeit his asset to the cooperative society in order to pay for the loan of somebody who actually died, or somebody who just jackpot. You get that? So, so some of those risks are there.
We were talking about a woman whose truck of catfish, they all died during this gridlock. So for such a person, shouldn't humanity, what can be done for such just in case she borrowed from a cooperative to fund
situation like that, if you're a member of that cooperative society and your asset is there and something like that happens, so it's going to be, because cooperative is highly democratic. It's one of the principles of cooperative, 7 principles of cooperative society. One of them is democratic administration. So if such thing happens, then the members will meet and deliberate. Whatever they resolve becomes the resolution. In my society, the vice president one time took loan and eventually he died. You get that? So we have the shorties. So when eventually the thing kept lingering, so we called the general house, narrated to them the story of the man's death. The next of kin is equally dead on motor accident, just like the man. The wife is on a wheelchair. So what do we do? The members sat down, discussed, and I said, okay, out of our yearly net surplus, let us be appropriating certain amount of money to offset that debt. Yeah, so such can be done. Based on it, because if eventually the members say no, the shorty should pay because they actually took that decision. There's nothing.
All right, we're still talking about cooperative societies and the benefits beyond savings. The conversation continues from another dimension because we need to find out how to even know which cooperative to join. But of course, that will be after the short break. This is still Morning Dew on Dott TV. Do not go away.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Yes, you're still watching Morning Dew, and we're having an insightful conversation about cooperative societies and the benefits beyond just saving up money for running your daily life. What more can you get from cooperative societies? And we're here with Mr. Andy Enwema. He is a statistician by training, a professional accountant, and the president of the National Bureau of Statistics Staff Multipurpose Society, and as well a board member with the Delta Cooperative Federation, DCF. I was just saying to you that your life is a reflection of the goodness of cooperative societies.
Yes, that's what I always tell people. If you see me, I discuss cooperative because I've actually benefited a lot from cooperative society. So I encourage people to make sure that they join cooperative
Does
society.
that have anything to do with how you chose the cooperative societies you joined? Because I'm sure that some other person may come in here and say that if I did not join cooperative societies, my life would have been better. Cooperatives killed me. So what was different for you? How did you even get started?
Well, it started with an interest, because anything you want to do, you must have interest in it.
And at that time, you hadn't gone to school?
No, I hadn't gone to school then. So when I came back, I joined and I felt that this is my target. And it was, so people who actually feel that cooperative has not done much for them, I can't, I really cannot.
It
place
depends
my
on the
mind
choice of cooperatives.
Oh,
That's why I needed you
yes.
to walk us
Yeah.
through your journey.
Yeah,
Because as someone
exactly.
who hadn't gone to school, at that time, you probably joined a non-governmental cooperative. So
Yeah.
we needed to know how you got into the cooperatives flow.
Yeah, even the governmental cooperative society, there are still some that are still having problem of management, administration. So and that is why we usually organize seminars for this cooperative society on a regular basis. We usually organize seminar, one for non-governmental cooperative society, one for non-management committee members, then the other one for management committee members. For non-management committee members, we try as much as possible to educate them on how to be a good follower. Following does not just mean that once you see, you follow. You must ask questions because you have responsibilities.
Yes.
Because every member of the cooperative society have a responsibility. When things are going wrong, you as a member has a right to draw the attention of management committee. You can assuage someone the management committee to hold an emergency meeting based on your observation or when you notice that something is going wrong. But the problem is that most of these people do not know their responsibilities. So we try as much as possible to educate them
on the laws.
Yes.
Okay, I would like you to just suppose the modus operandi and the benefits that comes with taking a loan from a cooperative society and of course taking it from the bank. We've seen situations where banks, a lot of people cry out that the banks rip them off. Double digits loan, high interest rate, and all of those things. You said you're taking about how much interest?
10%.
10%. And then we have situations where some of this bank, be it microfinance or loan apps, they take up to 40%, some of them 30%. And this I call modern day slavery. Now, how would you advise someone out there who is, let's say, a private business person, who does not belong to an organization like yours, to be able to access the benefits that this cooperative society
just as I'm here now, we are spreading the good news of cooperative society. For those who hear, let them hear. For those who want to abide, let them abide by it. But cooperative society cannot be compared with financial institutions. Because if you go to a bank to go and borrow money, the interest, management fee, what's it called, hidden charges you're going to pay there, in fact, you'll regret.
Monthly deductions.
And the way they will present it to you is that the interest rate is just 3%. You get that? And when somebody, because you don't have the knowledge that cooperative society takes as low as 10% per annum. So when you hear 3% and you hear 10%, you choose to go for that for
Exactly. Not knowing
and
that.
not knowing that 3% you're saying is monthly.
Okay.
So by the time you look at it, that monthly by 12 months, 36%. And that will not be enough. They will keep taking some charges. And anytime you default for any reason, they are not concerned. They will charge you overdraft for not paying that particular.
My heart bleeds for private business owners out there because some of them go to the bank. I have been in that situation, and so that's why I'm speaking from experience. They go to the bank to try to secure loan as capital, either to start completely from the beginning or to plow it back into the business to grow that startup.